ever been told that communication is extremely important in running a successful business? Well, that's because it really is. But it doesn't just mean how you're communicating to the marketplace with your advertising, but it really means how you're internally communicating with your team members. First things first, if you view your people as employees, you're already failing because what that's communicating to them is that you don't really care about me and I'm simply a number. So think about it. Are they your partners? Are they first impression specialists? What is it that they do and what do they mean to you? Because when you start to call someone a different name with a different label, all of a sudden they're going to view themselves differently. So think about maybe not just calling them employees. The other thing is you want to ensure that your communication, especially internally, is crystal clear, or at least as clear as you can get it to be. Because oftentimes what will happen is CEOs, CMOs, CFOs, they're at the top level, will have meetings and discussions and come up with an idea. And then each time that information gets passed down throughout the different parts of the organization, it almost gets distilled and it almost gets kind of muddy at times. And that can be an issue because then when it gets down to your frontline team members, they might be receiving a different message or maybe only pieces of the message that really meant to get across. So you want to ensure that you have flowing communication that is effective across every single line of your company. Now, you also want to ensure that when you're communicating, you have confidence. And this doesn't mean you need to come off as egotistical and that you know everything and they need to listen to you because they won't at that point. But this means that you need to be confident in what you're about to say. So you need to understand it. If you get questions, you want to be able to answer those questions. You don't want to simply just say things for the sake of them sounding good, because often when people are saying that in a leadership role and they're just talking, but their actions aren't following it up, after a while, it's going to really fall flat. And anything you say is going to really start to lose that credibility with your team members. Because again, if you're in an executive position, the people on the front line of your team are the ones who are carrying out your message. So you want to ensure that you're clear with that, you have confidence. And then you also want to make sure that if there's a conversation you have to have with a team member who may be lacking performance, that you don't put it off. And sometimes this can be really difficult because it's not fun to have those kinds of conversations. It's not fun to have a performance review, or if you have to fire someone, or if you have to say, hey, we've had multiple conversations about this. We had you set up on a development plan. Things still aren't progressing. And that's okay. Everything doesn't have to be fun. But if you remember, as leaders, you do the hard thing. And this doesn't mean that in those uncomfortable conversations, you need to be rude, you need to be dismissive of their feelings, you need to say, hey, you're just doing a bad job and why haven't you improved? You don't need to grill this person. They get it. They're a human. They understand that they're probably lacking performance. And if they don't, that may mean that you haven't communicated that clearly enough to them ahead of this meeting. So this shouldn't be a surprise to them. But you also want to ensure that you're handling this conversation with care. That you're handling this conversation with professionalism, but also warmth, and letting them know, hey, if this is a development meeting, we've spoken about this a few times. Help me understand. What else can we do to get you where we need to grow? Because we want to ensure that you're with us as we continue to serve, right? It's a different approach than just saying, hey, here's a sheet of paper. Here's the 10 things you're still doing wrong. And if we don't improve these by July 1st, you're out of here. And even if that's not how you deliver it, that's typically how people feel, because we haven't taken the time to communicate clearly with empathy, with warmth, and with connection. And you can do all those things even when you're having uncomfortable conversations. So just think about that today. If you want to grow your business, that's awesome, but you need to make sure that you are communicating clearly with every single person in the team, and essentially that they can communicate back with you clearly, because it can't just be a one-way flow of communication. If you're just telling people all the time and talking at them, I guarantee you they're tuned out. So you want to make sure that you're having real conversations, you're holding space, you're holding time for team members. And you might be hearing this saying, Steve, it sounds like it's going to take a lot of my personal time. This is going to take forever. It will take your time. But as a leader, that's your focus, your people, right? You can put the customer first, but you're going to lose your people. And so when you put your people first, you make sure you spend time with them, they will then put the company first, the goals first, the vision first, the customer first. And that is the goal, to have everyone creating exceptional experiences, not having people who come into an office or they log onto a Zoom and they're afraid of saying anything to you and they're afraid of expressing their thoughts or their ideas or what happened with a client because they think they're going to get fired. Make your culture more about getting hired, growing a company, and then hopefully not getting fired. Because that's really what most people think when they hear culture is, okay, it sounds good, but what are you going to really do to show me that you care? Your communication can easily do that as long as you take time to actually care and get to know your people. Hope that helps.